Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good day. I'm not quite sure that the intro had its normal sound effect, so let me know if you guys can hear me over here on the on the YouTube side. Let me know if we can hear me. It is Friday, guys. If you want to, for my friends that are watching on TikTok, you will not be able to see photos today unless you jump over, and you don't have to, but you can. That being said, okay, they said we can hear, so we are good to go. I don't know what happened with the thing. All right, well, we're going to do something a little bit different today here with the music at the end. So now that we can officially start, we know that you guys can hear us. What is up, party people? It is Friday. This is the last show of the week. And I'm coming at you with what might be our intense show yet. And trust me, that's saying something, right? Now, whether you're catching us live or watching from the future, hey, y'all, you're about to witness a news day that is absolutely wild. And hey, fam, I see you flooding the chat on YouTube, and I see you flooding the chat on TikTok. I appreciate that, and shout out to my mod squad, keeping it real. And if you are new here, you literally could not have picked a better day to join us. We have breaking developments in multiple cases, major cases. For example, Diddy's son has taken control of the empire while his father is sitting in jail. Former model Precious Muir just exposed. Some breaking news that wasn't even in my stuff is we have a new lawsuit filed, and I was sent the information by the person who filed it. Everything about the infamous white parties that Precious shared. Karen Reed's legal team has dropped a bombshell about what really happened with the jury. Kohberger's defense has made one of their boldest moves yet. And that's not even the heaviest part, because we're also going to talk about what's happening around the country post-election, coordinated attacks we're seeing. It's unlike anything we've ever covered before, but you guys do need to know about it. We're also going to talk about Liam Payne's investigation, how it's taken a little bit of a darker turn, J.P. Miller's arrest, and we're connecting dots that you won't believe about all of these cases. Now, if you are watching on TikTok right now, let's make those algorithms work for us. Please smash that screen until we hit 2K, or 10K. We are halfway there. You guys know the drill. And for my future fam watching this later, please drop those comments below. You know that I read every single one of those, and I love jumping in to respond on YouTube. If you've done it before, you know that I will respond to a lot of them. Also, quick reminder, Saturday night, that is in 2 days. That is tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think it's around 8 or 8:30 p.m., I am doing podcasts on live with TikTok, and we will be doing it with the entire family of Gabby Petito. I'm talking mom, dad, and bonus parents, Jim and Tara. So please join us there. You can if you're on TikTok right now, you can register for that by going to my bio. You'll see that I have a live event. Maybe that might actually be 9:30. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. You'll see what time it is, and you can see it there. Regardless, for my TikTok or for my YouTube people, I will upload that live when it's done. So if you can't watch it, you can't be there, you guys will be able to watch it on replay there. So definitely make sure to do that. Now, with all of that said, you know that you have to indulge me here, guys. You know that you have to indulge me while I do the things that helps me pay the bills. All right? All right. So first, we're going to talk about the books, right? Boundaries. And I'm going to be real with you guys. Let's just call it what it is. I'm going to, I'm very transparent with y'all. And so I'm going to leverage the election to talk about this. I know for a fact, because I have seen my Facebook feed, I have seen the TikToks, I have seen the Insta posts, I have not really seen anything on YouTube, but I know that prior to the election had torn a lot of families apart. I know that a lot of families are continuing that as they found out who loved ones voted for one way or the other. And so because of that, we know that there are millions of families across the country looking at their holiday plans, feeling that familiar knot in their stomach, or maybe a new knot for you. And if you are one of those and you're dreading the questions from your kids about why certain chairs will be empty this year, or why some traditions are going to look a little bit different, look, I see you. I've been you. I'm still you. I've been no contact with my mom for 6 years, very limited contact with my dad. Well, almost 6 years. Very limited contact with my dad for the last 2-3, which is why I created the book that you're seeing here, Boundaries. And here's what you need to know. You're part of a huge shift happening in our generation. And if we're being totally honest, as I said, this election has not helped with family unity. 1 in 4 of us have had to make tough choices prior to the election about family boundaries. That's 26% of millennials and Gen Z choosing healthier relationships, even when it's hard, even when it means explaining complex things to children. But here's the beautiful part. We get to write a new story for our kids, one where they learn about healthy relationships without inheriting our anxiety, understanding that boundaries come from love, not punishment, seeing that their family is perfect exactly how it is, and allowing them to feel confident about their holiday season, whatever that looks like. And I am excited to announce that we do have the hardcovers back in stock. For my TikTok fam, they were still showing sold out, but I fixed that yesterday. So if you want those, you can pick them up in the TikTok shop or through justinthenickofcrime.com. But here's what I need you to do. I need you to think of this book as the conversation you wish you had when you were little, wrapped in the conversation that your child needs right now. It's not just a book. It's permission to celebrate your family exactly as it is this holiday season. Because here's the truth. Our kids deserve to understand these things. They are way more aware than we give them credit for half the time. And they deserve to understand them earlier than we did, or at all, because a lot of us never were. And there's no better gift than helping them navigate their world with confidence and joy. So if you're ready to make those holiday conversations easier, grab your copy, again, through the link in my bio, justinthenickofcrime.com, or the TikTok shop, and your future self and kids will thank you. Now, the other book, and you guys know we have talked about this one time and time and time again, of how important this is, because as a true crime creator, I've learned that the greatest gift that we can give our children isn't under the tree. It's the power to protect themselves. And this is why this book, Surprise RK Secrets or Not, matters more than ever. We know that the holiday season brings joy. It brings more gatherings, brings more hugs. Sometimes your family wants hugs and your kids don't want to do it. It becomes a forceful thing. The more be nice to moments. And while we're wrapping presents and planning our celebrations, let's give our kids something invaluable, which is the knowledge that they can always speak up and know that they will be believed. Through the adventures of three friends, this book does something revolutionary. It shows the critical difference between fun surprises, like those holiday gifts you're wrapping for them, and unsafe secrets. It also empowers without frightening. It gives practical what-if guidance that kids actually remember, and makes it crystal clear that telling the truth is never wrong. And here's the reality that drives me, guys. The most harm doesn't come from the stranger in the shadows. It comes from trusted people who use secret keeping as their tool. But here's where we can change the story. And that is a true statistic. I think it's 80-something% of SA to children happens from a family member or close family friend. Now, there are bundle options available for hard and soft cover. They come with free shipping no matter which it is. All hard covers come with free shipping. We will sign those books and we will get them sent out to you. And when you check out, if you want me to dedicate them to your child, you can put that in the notes and I will dedicate it to your child and we will send it to them. Again, think of this more as a book. Think of it as a shield of knowledge wrapped in a story your kids will want to read again and again, because every child deserves to enter this holiday season and every holiday season knowing that they have a voice that matters. Remember, the best time to have these conversations was yesterday, and the best next time is now before the holiday rush begins. So give them the gift of speaking up. While surprises can bring joy, secrets should never be a burden our little ones carry. You can, again, both those books as a bundle or as singles through the TikTok shop or justinthenickofcrime.com. Bundles and hardcovers come with free shipping, and they will all come signed. Now, whether you're watching on YouTube, TikTok, or Facebook, because I have kicked Instagram out, I cannot moderate them, and I have kicked them out from the live streams, please do me a massive solid. That takes no time, costs nothing at all, but helps me out tremendously. Your engagement helps us reach more people who would love this content. Hit those platform buttons, follow and subscribe, like, share, comment. Anything you can do is helpful. Now, without further ado, let's get into the show and the stories that you want to hear. As I said, if you are coming in late, we have a ton of things that we are talking about. All right, a ton of big cases. We're also going to talk about Diddy. There are some new updates on Diddy. We do have a new case on Diddy that kind of came in while I was building the show, brand new. Probably hasn't even made it to TikTok with anybody yet. So we're going to talk about that soon. The other thing I will say, too, because I saw that we got a super chat here before we get going. Let me just kind of thank... I dropped something. Let me just kind of thank Mrs. Moak. Why is that still going? We're not supposed to be playing that. Let me just thank Mrs. Moak here for these $10 super chat. I appreciate you. Appreciate you supporting the channel. Guys, I will never ask you to donate to the channel or financially support it, but if you want to, it does take a lot of work, and I will not stop you. I will never beg you, but I will never stop you. So gifts, super chats, go for it. I will appreciate it. Christmas is coming up. I have a kid that's spoiled. You know, that's how it goes. But let's talk about this. We got a lot of cases. Like I said, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. Let me throw this back up real quick for just a moment. This is what we're talking about. We have Liam Payne updates, Mendez Brothers updates. We're going to talk about some post-election stuff, Kohberger stuff, the Idaho 4. Just a lot of things that we're talking about, right? This is what we're doing. Somebody asked if Karen and John were together in this picture, and yes, they are. So we are talking about Karen Reed. It's the picture I chose because it was easy and it had a large pixelation, which means it was easy to transfer over. But let me give you the latest update on the Karen Reed case. And in case you don't know what that case is and you need a quick refresh, it is a case that's been gripping Massachusetts and the internet since January of 2022. Let me give you the backdrop on it. Karen Reed, a 44-year-old an equity analyst and former college professor, stands accused of unaliving her boyfriend, who was Boston police officer John O'Keefe, by allegedly backing into him with her SUV and leaving him to die in a snowstorm. Now, O'Keefe was found the next morning severely injured and hypothermic in front of a fellow police officer's house after a night of drinking. He later died from what the medical examiner called blunt impact injuries to the head and hypothermia, though importantly, they couldn't determine if it was homicide or accidental. That's important to note. Now, here's where we are today. After a dramatic 3-month trial that ended in a hung jury this past July, Karen Reed's legal team has just made a very, very bold move. They've taken their case to Massachusetts' highest court, arguing that she should not face retrial on 2 of the 3 charges against her. Why? Because some jurors from the first trial have come forward with a stunning revelation. They say that the jury had actually voted unanimously behind closed doors to acquit Reed on the murder and leaving the scene charges, and didn't know how to properly communicate this to the judge. This creates a really fascinating legal question about double jeopardy. Reed's defense team is essentially saying that they're trying her again on charges the jury wanted to acquit her of, and that violates her constitutional rights, even though that acquittal was never officially recorded. The prosecution and the original trial judge disagree, noting that since there was no official acquittal and Reed's team argued to the mistrial, double jeopardy doesn't apply. That's what the argument is. With her retrial scheduled for January of 2025, this appeal could dramatically reshape the entire case. Massive information, guys. So we're going to be keeping posted on that and seeing what happens with that. All right? So stay tuned, because if nothing else, we got 2 months before the trial's supposed to start again. So moving on, though, let's talk about Liam Payne. A lot of y'all have asked about Liam Payne. A lot of y'all have been on that. He's gotten kind of linked with Diddy. However you guys want to, kind of talk about that, whatever. But let's talk about this, because the investigation into Liam Payne's death at the Buenos Aires hotel has now taken a little bit of a turn, right? With authorities now charging 3 individuals in connection with this with his October 16th fall, which ultimately took his life. Now, prosecutors, what they found, paint what we know is to be a troubling picture of his final days. According to prosecutor Andres Matea, they've discovered a web of illicit conduct surrounding Liam Payne's death. One of the most disturbing aspects involves someone from Payne's daily entourage in Buenos Aires, who's now charged with abandonment of a person followed by death. Adding to this, 2 others, including a hotel employee, are facing charges for repeatedly supplying Payne with the white powdery nose candy during his stay. The hotel worker allegedly provided that twice, while another alleged individual allegedly supplied drug substances to Payne on 2 occasions on October 15th. Now, the toxicology reports, sorry guys, my dog's barking, which is down in my house, can't help that. The toxicology reports reveal a concerning mix of substances in Payne's system in the last 72 hours, including alcohol, the snow nose candy stuff, and prescription antidepressants. Notably, despite earlier reports suggesting the presence of pink cocaine, a recreational dub that's typically MDMA, ketamine, and methamphetamine, the prosecutor's statement made no mention of that substance, so that's pretty interesting. Now, the circumstances of Payne's death are particularly heartbreaking, right? Forensic doctors determined that his fall from the third-floor balcony resulted in multiple trauma and internal and external hemorrhage. What's especially telling is their observation that Payne showed no defensive reflexes during the fall. So what does that mean? No defensive reflexes during the fall. It means and suggests that he was either semi-conscious or completely unconscious at the time of his fall. Perhaps what's most distressing are the events that led up to his death. The hotel staff was clearly concerned about his welfare, making a desperate 911 call after he began breaking the whole room, as they quote-unquote it. Following what they described as overindulgence in substances and alcohol, the caller's words were haunting. The guest is in a room that has a balcony, and, well, we are a little afraid that he might do something life-threatening. And tragically, as you know, Payne was found unalive, no longer living just a few minutes after this call. The investigation has been exhaustive. Prosecutors have interviewed dozens of hotel staff, family members, friends, medical professionals. They've analyzed over 800 hours of security footage and scrutinized Payne's phone contents. And in the end, they ruled out both self-harm and third-party interference, suggesting that this was just a tragic accident influenced by his compromised state. Now, so y'all are aware, Liam Payne's body has been released to his father, Jeffrey Payne, marking a somber end to the chapter of this investigation. It is a sobering reminder of the devastating impact of substance abuse and the critical importance of support systems in the entertainment industry, and not just in the entertainment industry, y'all. If you or somebody you know is suffering from substance abuse, depression, what have you, there are places out there that can help. Please call them. Please help them. Please be there for somebody. All right. Real quick before we get into the Kohberger stuff, because that is what's next, because we have some pretty major updates on the Idaho 4 Kohberger thing. If you want, I'm going to be showing some photos later in this, and I'm showing photos throughout this. And if you are on TikTok, you're not going to be able to see them, just so you are aware. You are welcome to jump over to YouTube if you want to do that. Link is in my bio. We'll take you directly there, and you can watch this. All right, just so you are aware. Now, that being said, let's get into the Idaho 4. All right. We're not going to keep Kohberger's picture up there very long because he's creepy looking, guys. Now, real quick, if you by some chance don't know this case at all, let me give you just the very shortest background on this. And by the way, for those of y'all who are just coming in, these streams are recorded on YouTube, and we're going to be talking about a lot of topics today, getting to Diddy and the Mendez Brothers here shortly. So that being said, for the Idaho 4 and Bryan Kohberger trial, a couple years ago, but I think like 2 years ago, it'll be 2 years since his arrest come January. Four students at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, were brutally murdered, and it is believed to be the person arrested. The suspect in that is Bryan Kohberger. He's been in jail, long trial, has an attorney. They've gotten everything moved from Moscow, Idaho, change of venue, to Boise, Idaho. And I don't think that's working out as they planned, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is his team has argued that he couldn't have possibly done it because he was looking at the moon and the stars. Swear to God, that was their thing. And so that being said, let me break down the significant development in this case. And if you need more information about it, there's videos, we can deep dive, you can look it up, etc. But let me break this significant development into the Bryan Kohberger case down, which continues, of course, to grip the nation's attention more than a couple years after the horrific murders of these students. Now, in a Boise courtroom yesterday, Bryan Kohberger's defense team mounted an aggressive challenge to take the death penalty off the table. His attorney, Ann Taylor, made a particularly striking argument in trying to do so. What she contends is that the uncertainty of the uncertainty of the execution methods in Idaho, wavering between lethal injection and firing squad, would be dehumanizing to Kohberger. The defense's position is that forcing someone to sit on death row without knowing exactly how they'll be executed amounts to cruel and unusual punishment. Right? That's what they're saying. The state's response was notably direct. Prosecutor Jeffrey Nye essentially told the defense they can't simply short-circuit the process by claiming the current method is unconstitutional without proposing an alternative that would work within the law. It's worth noting that Idaho's history with capital punishment has been complicated. The state hasn't executed anyone since 2012 due to shortages of the substance that's used for lethal injection. And just this year, they botched the execution of Thomas Creech when staff couldn't establish an IV line. Judge Stephen Hippler seems very skeptical of the defense's arguments, pointing to previous cases like Creech's where courts found nothing cruel about lengthy death row stays. He also noted Idaho might well resolve its execution method issues by the time any potential death sentence would be carried out. The case against Kohberger is particularly severe, as we know. Prosecutors have outlined 4 specific factors they say warrant capital punishment: the multiple victims, the horrific nature of the killings, Kohberger's alleged disregard of human life, and their belief that he would kill again. The victims' families continue to be present for these proceedings. Kaylee Gonsalves' parents attended yesterday's hearing, with their mother, Christy, making a powerful statement afterwards, saying, if he did anything like he did to our daughter to others, then he deserves to die. The scope of this case remains staggering. Kohberger is accused again on November 22nd of the murders of Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Knodel, and Ethan Chapin. And that's whose pictures are up right now because that's who matters with this. And this was at their off-campus home. And the investigation tied him to the scene through DNA on a knife sheath, touch DNA, surveillance footage, and cell phone data. And his trial is now set for August 25th in Boise and could last up to 3 months. Now, the judge has taken these arguments under advisement and will issue a written ruling later. But meanwhile, the Gonsalves family has already rented a home in Boise to ensure that they can attend the entire trial, showing that they are going to see this through to the end, despite the frustration of what they've called a hamster wheel of motions, hearings, and delayed decisions. Now, that being said, let me kind of have a conversation with y'all about my thoughts on this absurd argument. And I almost feel this one is maybe more absurd than he couldn't have done it because he likes to take long drives at night and he was looking at the moon and the stars. And unless you are calling the moon and the stars as witnesses, it is a BS argument, guys. But we're not talking about that here. We're talking about the death penalty. Somebody saying my mic is crackling. Let me see if I can fix that. Is that better, y'all? Let me know. Let me know. Are we fixing it? Let me know if it's better. Wait for them, guys. Sorry. Well, I know you guys can hear it fine. No, it's not better. All right, hold on. Y'all are saying no. So let me do something real quick. We're going to take I'm going to basically restart not the live. Y'all stay there. I'm going to restart my thing. And we'll be right back. So hold on. We're going to restart the thing. I know for you guys it sounds great. Apparently there's an issue on there real quick. I'm going to restart my set. Let me know if y'all can hear it better. I know y'all couldn't hear me. I was restarting the thing. Let's see if that does it. If so, we can keep going. Are we better? Are we worse? Are we good? I don't know. Much better. All right, so we can keep going. So, that being said, let's keep going. All right, good. Here's my opinion on this. All right, going from the sun and the moon and the stars, whatever, okay? Here's my opinion on this. None of us know when we're going to die. Basically, what they're saying is that him waiting on death row, having no idea whether or not he's going to die of firing squad or lethal injection, that's unconstitutional. Every one of us spends daily life not knowing if and when we're going to die. Okay, he's got two options essentially to choose from, and frankly, something could happen to him prior, a heart attack or something prior to him being, his a death penalty sentence carried out. All of us, we don't know. Is it going to be a car accident, heart attack, somebody going to brutally unalive us? We don't know. Is that unconstitutional for us to live that way? This attorney argues the dumbest ish I have ever heard, y'all. This stuff is dumb. These 4 students didn't know how they were going to die, and you think that those last few minutes were fair, the ones that did know, like even for a few minutes? They didn't know. That was cruel. That's unconstitutional. Right? Anyways, whatever. So that's the case there. That's my opinion on that. Let's talk about J.P. Miller now. A lot of y'all have been asking me about JP Miller, and I've not really made a video on this because we had the election and some Diddy stuff, and then I was tired, and so I took the day off, and so I've not really been around to do the JP Miller stuff. But real quick, for those of y'all who are unaware of this story, first of all, this is his mugshot, guys. This is a mugshot, this photo right here. This is a mugshot. And if you don't know this story about JP Miller, he was a pastor at a church called Solid Rock in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. His wife, the official answer is, took her own life. But prior to doing that, she and him had a lot of issues going back and forth, right? And a lot of, I don't know what you call it, legal issues back before he accused her of embezzlement, she accused him of stalking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? And anyways, all of that brought a lot of information to light. Apparently, the FBI had been talking. She had reported him to the IRS prior to her death. All right. And we had heard that the FBI was looking into him. Like, we heard that. And then we really hadn't heard anything else. Right? We hadn't heard anything else. But that was until recently. All right? So I think that J.P. Miller, John Paul Miller, is spiraling, guys. He found himself in jail the other day after an altercation with a protester named Sandra Caron, K-A-R-O-N, near his church, right? These are the protesters that have been out there every single week since May, unwavering. And this is not the first time he has had an assault accusation, but it is the first time that he's been arrested. All right? Now, the confrontation, which was partially captured on video, turned a little bit heated when JP allegedly approached Sandra from behind while recording her with his phone. And according to Sandra Caron's account at Miller's bond hearing, she initially didn't recognize him and said, "Here," and "Here, kitty, kitty," apparently, I think is what he said. Things escalated quickly, with Miller allegedly getting in her face and tapping her baseball cap with his phone, saying, "What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?" He said it twice. She was clear in her statement after hearing. And I love what she said. I love what she said here. And I think that every woman should have this statement or something similar, okay? Which is this. Children, too, for that matter. And this is what she said to him when he was doing that. When a woman sets a clear boundary and says, "You're in my personal space," the response isn't to threaten her further. All right? If it's still crackling, guys, I don't know what to tell y'all at this point. I can't. There, I unplugged it and plugged it back in. Maybe it's a little better. Hold on a second here. So I can. I'm trying to get my wife to deal with the dog. All right. So let's continue this on. Now, this arrest comes at a particularly tumultuous time for J.P. Miller. Okay? Sorry if y'all can hear the dog. I can't help it. This is why this dog, by the way, because he never shuts up. He's going to camp tomorrow. He's going to be gone for 3 weeks for them to train this out of him, hopefully. But days ago, as a lot of y'all know, let me go ahead and get this new picture turned up so you guys can see it. TikTok, you can't see the picture. I'm sorry. And I showed this picture for a reason. I'm going to tell you why in a second. The FBI conducted a significant search of his home, removing multiple boxes of evidence, including computer equipment. Now, while the FBI remains tight-lipped, which is what they always do about the specific reason for the search, there have been allegations that they were investigating Miller for financial crimes prior to Micah's death in April. This would suggest a longer-running investigation separate from the circumstances surrounding Micah's suicide. Meanwhile, Solid Rock Church appears to be dissolving right before our eyes. This week, movers were seen emptying the church building, carrying out furniture and equipment. The church's distinctive signage has been stripped bare, its website's taken down, and its phone disconnected. But Miller isn't walking away from ministry entirely. He's already laid groundwork for a new venture, already filing incorporation papers for what's going to be called Living Water Church at Market Common, and he did that on October 17th. Interestingly, if this new church ever dissolves, its assets would be distributed to St. Delight Pentecostal Church, a small Little River-based church where Miller's advisor, Charles Randall, serves as pastor. The property aspects of this story are also particularly intriguing given the alleged financial investigation. Solid Rock Ministries controls a substantial $5.5 million real estate portfolio that includes both church property and Miller's home, which consequently, he moved that into his home right after Micah died, moved it into the church. And let me tell you something. Any judge can see what's going on with that, right? Any judge knows what's going on with that. Anyways, they'd even purchased additional land with plans to build a larger facility, though those plans are currently in limbo. The backdrop to all of this, as you know, remains to be Micah's death. And a lot of y'all know that prior to her tragic death at Lumber River State Park, she had posted videos discussing abusive relationships and reportedly warned family members, including her sister, Sierra Francis, who stated in an affidavit that Micah had said, quote, "If I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not by me, it was JP." All right. Now, Miller has admitted to some concerning behavior, including placing multiple GPS trackers on Micah's vehicles and leaking a topless photo of her online, though he maintains he had no involvement in her death. Miller's attorney, Russell Long, has also taken an aggressive stance, essentially blaming the city of Myrtle Beach for failing to protect his client from protesters. All right. At Miller's recent bond hearing, JP's attorney claimed that the protesters were baiting him to do something and trying their best to drive him crazy. He insisted the bigger problem is this group of people who won't leave him alone. They've driven the church to death, and they're trying to drive him to death. However, protesters like Melissa Pfeiffer remain undeterred. Even as the church appears to be relocating, she put it while watching the church being emptied, "We will figure out where they are, and we will be on their sidewalk Sunday morning." The community's determination to seek what they consider justice for Micah shows no signs of waning. And even as the story continues to develop, every time we turn around, there are new layers of complexity to it. Now, I do want to say regarding his arrest, he is out on bond. He is out on bond. He was given like $776, I think, for his bond. Now, Gator Girl just asked a really good question here in regard to this, which is, did you know that Regina Ward was subpoenaed by the FBI for her paperwork on Micah, diary, et cetera? I do know that. I actually had the paperwork, and I was going to put it in here, but I think I was going to save that till tomorrow when hopefully we got a little bit more information about that. Now, real quick before we move on to the next and get into some of these Diddy updates, let me just real quick we have a new member to our team, Victoria Lynn. Thank you for becoming a member to our team and our family here. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for that and supporting the channel. I appreciate it more than you know. Now, let's get into some Diddy stuff, y'all. Let's get into some Diddy stuff. All right. Will the real Diddy? You guys can't see this over there because on TikTok because y'all can't. But if you want to jump over, you can. If not, you can hear it. You'll get the point, right? Y'all. The internet is truly undefeated when it comes to creating the most outrageous conspiracy theories. And let's talk about one of the latest ones about Diddy. Now, buckle up, guys, because this one is absolutely wild. So apparently, there is a conspiracy theory going viral on TikTok claiming that Diddy, the one who's dealing with all these serious allegations, the one that's sitting in jail, that's not the real Diddy. All right, let me repeat this for y'all, because you heard it right. Okay, there's a conspiracy theory going around that the Diddy who is dealing with all the legal issues, the one that's sitting in jail, that one's not the real Diddy. According to these completely unfounded rumors, very unfounded, the real Diddy is living it up in Cuba. All right, while a clone, Diddy clone, is taking the fall for him here in the States. I know. I hear it too. When it's said out loud, it sounds even more ridiculous. It's absurd. But, y'all, I do not consider myself an internet sleuth, just so you know. I cover true crime and current events, and I will use the term digital journalist because I don't investigate per se. I don't come up with these theories. I go off what I can confirm as fact. So when I use the term internet sleuth, I'm not talking about myself. Okay? Just so y'all know. But internet sleuths out there are comparing photos of Diddy's face, claiming that they can spot differences in his facial structure and suggesting there's been photo manipulation. Some are even trying to connect this to some kind of elaborate celebrity cover-up scheme, bearing in mind that we haven't even seen a mugshot of Diddy because it's a federal case and you don't get mugshots with federal cases. So I have no idea what they're comparing, what photos they're comparing of Diddy in jail, because there are no photos of Diddy in jail that are public circulation. They're just not there. All right? Now, while Diddy... No, Laney, that could not be true. Now, while Diddy is facing some very real and serious legal allegations that deserve proper attention, this clone theory is asinine. There is zero evidence to support any of these claims. None, nada, zip, zero, zilch. But you got to admit it. It's kind of fascinating how creative these conspiracy theories can get. Like someone really sat there and thought, you know what makes sense? Diddy's got a clone. We broke it wide open. Just remember, folks, the real story here is about the actual legal proceedings. Not some far-fetched clone narrative, but hey, at least these wild theories give us something to laugh about while serious stuff continues to play out in court. Y'all are saying it makes sense after the raid. No, it doesn't, y'all. Do you guys know why the raid here? I'll stop real quick. And y'all know why the raid happened? I'll tell you. Now, I believe that Diddy is responsible for the raid in the prison. The raid happened because in the coming months, there were people shanked, stabbed in that facility, people unalived in that facility, and Diddy being high profile, unfortunately, kind of like the Grizzlies being in jail, right? The Grizzlies being in prison has brought attention to prisons, the prison system that they are at, and similar things have happened. Not so much raids, but Department of Justice coming in to help clean things up and fix them up. It's not a clone. No, there's no body double sitting in prison either. Y'all walk away from the conspiracy theories, y'all. Walk away from them. Then if that's the case, Elvis is alive, Tupac's enjoying life in the Bahamas. We never landed on the moon, which that one I could actually get behind. And Joe Biden's made of Play-Doh. That being said, that's why the raid happened, is that Diddy brought attention to it, enough attention with his lawyers and everything else, that's why they came on. Oh yeah, world's flat too. Guys, seriously. Tamara, I can actually get behind that one, like I said. But as we're talking about theories, conspiracy theories and connections and things like that, let's talk about the Mendez Brothers, because one of the things that I've been hearing for a long time, that all this stuff is interweaved, right? And that Jose Menendez, Eric and Lyle's father, had connections to Clive Davis, had connections to Diddy through Clive Davis, basically, that there's this whole thing. And let's talk about this. Let's kind of give you this. So, what I always find fascinating about Hollywood and the music industry is that sometimes coincidental connections will get turned into something much bigger than they really are. And that's what we're talking about here. Okay? With all the stories swirling around Diddy's current situation, the Mendez brothers potentially getting out, people are trying to create elaborate conspiracy theories. And let's break down and separate fact from fiction here, shall we? Let's start with the supposed Clive Davis and Jose Menendez connection that everyone has been buzzing about, talking about. I only deal with facts, y'all, just so you know. Jose Menendez had an impressive corporate climb. He became an executive VP at Hertz, like rental cars, which was one of RCA's subsidiaries. And he did this when he was just 35. Or prior to being even 35, sorry. Then at 35, he moved to RCA Records as their chief operating officer. Yes, Clive Davis was this huge figure at RCA Records, eventually becoming chairman and CEO from 2002 to 2008. When did Jose Menendez die? It was not 2002. It was like 1988, 1989, right? Like the late 80s. But their time there wasn't really even overlapping in any significant way. This is just basic corporate structure stuff, not some deep, dark industry conspiracy, right? Now, years later, Clive Davis became a legendary mentor to Diddy, along with Andre Harrell and Russell Simmons. Now, people are trying to draw elaborate connections because of Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, claiming that Diddy's alleged behavior was learned from the people that mentored him. But that's a huge leap from saying that these two people worked at the same company at different times. The music industry was a small world back then. Everybody knew everybody, especially at the executive level, but a business connection isn't the same as a conspiracy theory, right? Now, what is actually interesting is how these cases intersect with changing social attitudes. The Mendez Brothers case is getting a second look because we understood more about trauma and SA now than we did in the 80s and 90s. And that's the real story here, not some shadowy music industry connection. But there is a connection where things do get wild, and it is real. All right? And I'm about to show it to you right now. Again, if you're on TikTok, you won't see it, but I'll tell you in a second. This one right here. Okay? O.J. Simpson connection is actually way more direct and fascinating than the Diddy stuff, in my opinion. So, Jose Menendez, while he was at Hertz, actually helped OJ get a famous endorsement deal with Hertz. The Mendez brothers used to play catch with OJ in their backyard. He even gave them signed footballs and everything. Fast forward years later, they're all in the same jail, with Eric and Lyle Menendez actually giving OJ advice about prison life. Eric was literally in the cell next to OJ. Lyle, listen, this now, guys, what I'm about to share with you here is freaking mind-blowing, in my opinion, okay? Because this comes directly from Lyle and Eric Menendez. What I'm about to share with you is absolutely wild, okay? So you ready for this? Because you'll see, and then we'll talk about it. Lyle even tried to convince OJ to admit guilt, telling him the public would understand if it wasn't premeditated. The timing is what's really interesting because this was happening right when their own case was going on. Eric later said that after OJ's acquittal, there was this feeling that the justice system needed to compensate, and they felt like they caught the backlash of that. What we're really seeing here is how society's understanding of trauma, abuse, and justice has evolved over the decades. But here's what's interesting. It sounds like a confession to me. It sounds like OJ told them what happened, and that was a confession. Like, am I the only one? Am I the only one that took that from that? Am I the only one that took that from that, guys? Crazy, right? Anyways, sometimes people want to find elaborate connections when the real story, how we've changed the society and understanding abuse, trauma, power dynamics, is actually more compelling than any conspiracy could be. So how is that for pulling all those strings together? But now, let's pull some more strings together. And I know how you people are, all of you people. This is not that some whatever. I am going to just give you facts. This is not going to be political, but we're going to talk about all the connections that came out during the campaigns about Diddy and Trump, Diddy and Harris, Diddy and Obama. And I'm going to do this completely neutral, giving you solely facts, just so you know exactly what it is. And I have to make that clear because a lot of times y'all don't think it's fact. Oh, hold on. But before we do, we got a new person. Holly Dolly gifted a membership. Thank you for that. I appreciate that on YouTube. A new member of the team. You guys are being very generous today. I appreciate y'all for sure on that. Love you guys. So we're going to get into this, and we're going to do it one by one. All right? We're talking about Diddy and the connections with all these people. Okay? So in the days, as I all know, leading up to the U.S. presidential election, y'all know this. Y'all know this. Both camps, Harris and Trump, attempted to link Diddy to their opponent. Many Trump supporters pointed out that Kamala Harris had a previous connection with Diddy. Diddy's connection to Kamala emerged during the 2020 presidential campaign when he hosted a town hall on racial inequality during the COVID-19 pandemic. Harris publicly thanked Diddy via Twitter. I'm going to show you all that tweet in a second on YouTube. So if you want to jump over, links in the bio. Harris publicly thanked Diddy via Twitter for his efforts in highlighting racial disparities in healthcare, sparking discussions about their association. And here is what here, let me get it pulled up here. There you go. This is what the tweet said. All right. The tweet said, "Thank you at Diddy for hosting this town hall last night. There's a lot of stake for our communities right now, and it's critical we bring to the forefront how coronavirus is perpetuating racial inequality and health disparities." That is what the tweet that Kamala Harris read. All right. One person came out and wrote, Kamala and Diddy were best friends. That's not true. And then others expressed surprise that Diddy supporters supported Harris in 2020 campaign. Another post read, "Is anyone surprised that Diddy was pushing Harris's campaign in 2020?" And I don't think people were, because Harris is a woman of color. Diddy is a person of color, and the black community is something that has been very taking out what we know now about Diddy. What has always been important to him, something that he has fought for, is the black community. That has always been something on his forefront, right? So that's not a surprise, but they weren't friends. They met during that particular situation. Now, that being said, let's talk about this photo. This photo has been widely circulating. Again, if you can't see it, you can't. But photos of Donald Trump with Diddy, with Melania, were doing rounds on social media following the arrest. This was the widely shared image, one of a few of them together. There was like 202 photos taken of them together at different events. And that began to raise a lot of questions about Donald Trump's associations. And according to reports, Diddy and Trump did share a long-standing connection dating back to the late 90s when they were both high-profile businessmen in New York City. And Donald Trump once described Diddy as legendary in an invitation to his 29th birthday in 1998. Now, the two were photographed together on several occasions. Moreover, Diddy has mentioned Trump in his lyrics, most notably in his 2006 song, "We Gon' Make It." In that song, he boasts about having the same kind of wealth as Trump, according to the report. However, Diddy's view of Trump soured, especially during Trump's presidency. And by 2020, Diddy expressed his disapproval and endorsed Joe Biden. He had stated that Trump's thinking was dangerous and even stated, quote, "Trump made life worse for the black community." Now, my point is that they were not friends at that point. They're not friends anymore. And I will say this. There is no evidence that I have seen that shows that Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or the person we're going to talk about next, Barack Obama, that any of them ever attended any of Diddy's like white parties or parties where freak-offs took place. That is what I have found. Whether you want that to be the case or not, that is what I have found. And there's even a connection to Obama that was brought up. So let's just talk about the story there, because this is just the facts, guys. Somebody said, Diddy calling anyone dangerous to Duluth. Yeah, how ironic knowing what we know, right? Diddy had interviewed Barack Obama in the past when Obama was an aspiring senator from Illinois. In the video, a very young Obama, and you can see how young he was here in this picture, explains the importance of political representation to Diddy because at that time, there wasn't a single black senator. Jesus Christ. We lost TikTok, guys. Every time I talk about Trump on TikTok, the little wusses get sad about it, and I have to appeal. So we'll see when that happens. But we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. Because I'm talking about, and here's the thing about it. For the Trump supporters that are getting angry about talking about that, talking about this helps him. It helps him. All right? It helps him. Nikki, you don't get to tell people they're not black. We don't do that. You know better. And they are. Both of them are at least 50% black. You absolutely get to do that. So if you were rolling in from TikTok, what happened is I got a ban because somebody reported every time I talk about Trump, people get angry. And again, what I did was actually helpful to him and whatever. I'm well aware. So let's continue talking about Barack Obama. Okay. So at the time, there was not a single black senator. Yeah, exactly. My report is impartial, and it's helpful. It's helpful to all three of these people that we're talking about. Anyways, then 2016, Diddy expressed some disappointment with Obama after his tenure ended and said, quote, "My number one thing, to be honest, is black people. I feel like we put President Obama in the White House. When I look back, I just wanted more to be done for my people because that's the name of the game. This is politics. You put somebody in office, you get in return the things that you care about for your communities. I think we got a little bit shortchanged. That's not knocking the president." That is what Diddy said. Appeal approved. Let me go back on. And my appeal was approved, so let's go back live. We're going to go back live. So the point is that nothing we saw during the election appears to be of any substance, just an opportunity to link people and try to disparage other people. That's what it seems to have been. That's all it was. Okay? And that's for all the candidates, all the people that we talked about. All I'm here to do, guys, is I'm not here to play favorites. I'm here to set the record straight. That's what I'm here to do. That is what I'm here to do. So let's not get into politics. We're not getting into politics, but we can talk about important things. So I didn't use any words that were negative. We use all TikTok safe words. Well, whatever. If you are coming back to TikTok, welcome. I was briefly banned because people get their feelings hurt whenever I talk about certain individuals. And frankly, the conversation that we were just having, which is always good, which is why you should follow me on YouTube, by the way, which is why what I was talking about basically was helpful to all the people that we're talking about. So for those of y'all who want to come to YouTube, because TikTok is garbage and does that sometimes because people get snowflakey and do that, if you go to my bio, the link that is in my bio will take you directly to my YouTube channel. It's Just in the Nick of Crime. It's there. And if you are coming in late or missed something, it's all saved there. All right? So now that being said, let's go on to another question that people have asked me a lot, which is, will Trump follow Diddy? Pardon Diddy. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, as I tell you what's going on, I do not believe so. I do not believe so. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think he will. Okay? So, think about Trump's last day in office in 2021. He was handing out pardons like party favors, with 143 people getting pardoned, getting that golden ticket. And now, as he positions himself as president-elect, returning as president number 47 to the White House, people are wondering, could Diddy be next? At first glance, there is a certain logic to it, as we just learned. Trump has shown he's not afraid to use his pardon power for high-profile figures. In the music industry specifically, look at Lil Wayne and Kodak Black. Both got pardons for weapons charges. And let's not forget that Trump and Diddy do have a history going back to the late 90s after Biggie's death. But here's where things get complicated. Diddy's case is a completely different league, guys. This isn't weapons charges or something more low rent. We're talking at federal allegations of trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, and forced prostitution. The feds are painting a dark picture of substance-fueled freak-off parties and allegations of blackmail. And what you have to understand is that in Trump's entire pardon spree, he never once touched a single case involving crimes or assault. Not one. Not one. Now, technically, could Trump pardon Diddy before a conviction? Absolutely. There's a precedent for that. Most famously was when Ford pardoned Nixon, but it is extremely rare. And there's a reason for that, because the Constitution is clear. Presidential pardons are supposed to be tools for justice and mercy in the public interest, not for personal favors. Now, Diddy is currently sitting in a tight spot. He's been denied bail 3 times, facing a May 2025 trial date. Even if Trump wins and decides to step in, a presidential pardon would not make all of Diddy's problems disappear anyways. All it could do is make the federal problems disappear, but he's got mounting legal lawsuits and challenges against him. It won't touch any state charges, and it can't erase civil lawsuits, and it can't undo the court of public opinion. Now, the political calculus here is fascinating. Trump has shown that he's willing to swim against the current with his pardons, but pardoning someone facing serious trafficking charges, that's uncharted territory even for him. And the political backlash would be severe, especially given the broader context of Diddy's case and the multiple alleged victims involved. Trump has also proven that he doesn't like to grant favors to adversaries, and when Diddy has spoke against him, that ended the friendship that they did have. Somebody asked how Diddy voted. I have a feeling Diddy did not vote because he is in federal custody. Now, nevertheless, this isn't just about whether Trump would do it. It's about whether he could afford the political cost of doing it. And given the severity of these charges, that cost would probably be too high, even for somebody as politically unconventional as Donald Trump. So to answer the question that I've had a lot of people ask me, I even had it in live earlier today that I was on with Steph's Case Files. Do I think Donald Trump will pardon Diddy? And the answer is absolutely not. I do not think Donald Trump will touch Diddy's case with a 10-foot pole. I really don't. I really don't. Now, let's talk about Precious Muir, okay? Because now we have yet another account, another person showing kind of the inside of what goes on in these parties, during these parties, all right? Again, you guys can't see the pictures here. And sorry, I was looking at something real quick. And we're going to talk about this. There's not a lawsuit filed against us. She's not after money, so there's no whatever, okay? Now, so Precious Muir is a model, right? And she has pulled back the curtain on what appears to be a carefully orchestrated system of exploitation. Think about it, okay? Black SUVs dispatched to Manhattan to collect young aspiring models, whisking them away to Long Island for these notorious white parties. She's saying that it wasn't just random party transportation, it was a calculated operation. What's particularly chilling is how Precious describes the vulnerability of these young models. You have ambitious young women new to the industry, hoping these parties might be their big break into the entertainment world, but instead, as she puts it, they were viewed as quote-unquote fresh meat. New faces that could be manipulated by established industry players. But perhaps one of the most damning parts of her testimony is her assertion that this wasn't just a Diddy problem, it's an industry-wide formula. Okay, you get that? It's not just Diddy. It was a formula used by multiple people in the industry, and she describes a systematic approach where substances, manipulation, and various forms of abuse are used to take advantage of both young women and men. And the fact that she says Diddy learned this behavior from somebody else suggests a deeply rooted culture of exploitation. Her revelation about why more victims don't come forward is particularly telling, which is that they're scared for their life, they're scared for their safety, their career. And I think that speaks to the immense power imbalance at play, because we're not just talking about uncomfortable party situations, y'all. We're talking about an environment of fear and intimidation. Now, this testimony adds yet another layer of credibility to the federal charges Diddy's currently facing, especially when you line up her account with the allegations of trafficking, racketeering, and forced prostitution. You start to see a pattern of systematic exploitation, systematic. I can use both. That goes far beyond just throwing lavish parties, right? Now, what makes this particularly relevant to the pardon discussion that we just had is that it underscores the serious nature of allegations against Diddy. They're not isolated incidents, and if her account is accurate, Precious' account is accurate, we're looking at a long-standing pattern of predatory behavior that was deeply embedded in how these parties operated. Okay? Now, actually, hold on one second here. We might have some stuff for you guys. We do. Hold on. I'm trying to get this. I think it's just not working right with me today. All right, we're trying to do something. I was trying to do All right. So I was trying to make that way cooler than it was, but the thing messed up. So let's talk about some breaking news that has come in. There is a brand new lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs, and the information about it was sent to me. So I'm going to take this down real quick, that what we're showing here. I'm going to show you all the headline again. If you are not on YouTube, you will not be able to see it, but let's kind of put this up here and show you this headline. All right. Oh, y'all can't really see it. Let's do this again. Hold on. There we go. There we go. Y'all can see that now. Okay. So this was sent to me by the person who did it. In fact, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I'll make myself smaller so y'all can see this a little bit better, okay? Diddy has a brand new lawsuit against him. Brand new. Diddy and his bodyguard have been sued by a man for 1996 physical assault outside of a New York City club. Does that sound familiar to y'all? Well, it should if you follow me, and you, especially on YouTube and TikTok, which I guess that's where you would be right now, because we had the man who filed who this lawsuit is about on our show a week or so ago. We had him on. You can go back on YouTube and watch that interview firsthand if you want the details of it. We had him on. He's probably going to be on News Nation now. We submitted to it. But basically, Sean Diddy Combs and his bodyguards are being sued by a man named DeWitt Gilmore, who goes by Relentless Aaron. And he has accused Diddy and his security of physically assaulting him outside of a New York City club in 1996. This was a lawsuit filed today in New York federal court, or filed on Sunday, and obtained today. The lawsuit comes amid all the SA allegations against him, but this one's about violence. And according to Relentless Aaron DeWitt Gilmore, he said the incident occurred in the summer of 1996 on a New York City street after exiting a nightclub. He claims that he and two friends were heading to his car and preparing to leave when Combs, driven by his bodyguard, pulled up and began to ridicule him. He said Combs threatened him with violence aimed, and if you want to know exactly what was said, you can go check out the video with Relentless Aaron, because he tells you exactly what was said and with the ridicule. He said that Combs threatened him with violence and aimed derogatory language at him. Gilmore said the verbal altercation escalated when armed members of Combs' entourage pulled up and blocked his car. Shots were then allegedly fired, with Gilmore and his friends fleeing. In a response to requests for comment, Diddy's team gave the same tired excuse that they always give, which is, quote, as we've said before, Mr. Combs cannot respond to every new publicity stunt, even in response to claims that are ridiculous. Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts and the integrity of the judicial process in court, blah, 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 blah. All right. Basically, fearing for his life, DeWitt and the people with him were aggressively chased through the dark city streets, and this is in Manhattan, to evade the scene by accelerating through traffic, narrowly escaping the potentially deadly ambush. He seeks a jury trial, meaning he wants people to look at this. He wants to show the evidence that he has, and $5 million for emotional distress, physical harm, lost opportunities, and reputational damage. Gilmore claims he feared continued harassment and possible violent retribution at the time, but recent conversation with one of the men there that night brought forth new, and that man, by the way, comes on our live as well, briefly, brought forth new insight and testimonial evidence. In the lawsuit, his legal team makes a preemptive argument to reopen the case beyond the usual statute of limitations, that they cite new uncovered evidence and the unique circumstances of intimidation and safety concerns that delayed earlier action as justification for the lawsuit. So that's where that's at, guys. That's where that's at. We have a brand new lawsuit, and we have spoken to the victim of this lawsuit, just so y'all are aware. We also might have a little bit more breaking news right here for this one. So let's kind of chat about this. Let me get it pulled up before we do, and then we're going to get into the other story. But I told you guys, this was going to be a filled episode today, y'all. Filled episode today. And that being said, make sure this is showing up correctly for y'all. Can y'all see that? You cannot see that. Let's share this one instead. Share it so we can see it. It doesn't matter. I can't get it. I'll just read it to you. I can't get it to share up there. So Diddy is once again proposing a new this was happened today, on Friday, today, a few minutes ago, a new $50 million bail package that said would justify releasing him from the Brooklyn jail where he has been for 8 weeks. You guys know what that is. Basically, in his court filing, his lawyer, Alexandra Shapiro, urged U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian to release Combs on a bond backed by his $48 million Miami home. Man, $48 million is not a home. It is a mansion, and co-signed by several members of his family. She also proposed that he got to be monitored around the clock by security personnel and that he have no contact with alleged victims or witnesses in the case. So he's trying to get out again. This judge has already said he's not going to do it, so we'll see what happens. But he's trying to get out again, guys. That's what's going on there. So now that we have that, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program. Now, I'm going to talk about this Diddy story, and then after the Diddy story that we're talking about here, this newest one, because they are trying to save his reputation. I kid you not. They are still trying to save his reputation. Now, that being said, all right? That being said, after I talk about this story, I'm going to get into something very heavy, all right? Very, very heavy. I'm going to show some things that are very, very heavy because I think they need to be shown and I think they need to be seen. I think awareness needs to be brought around about it. You will not see them on TikTok. I cannot pay them on TikTok. And in fact, they're actually so brutal, they're so terrible that before I talk about them, and that's why I'm giving you guys ample warning, I will probably turn off TikTok Live, given the fact that I was talking about the connections or lack thereof with Trump, Harris, and Obama and Diddy. This conversation will absolutely get me banned. So after I talk about Diddy. So if you want to jump over to YouTube and see this, you can. If you don't want to, that's okay also. All right? But I'm going to let you guys know, and I will give you notice when I do. Just want to make sure I want y'all to be aware. Now, that being said, let's talk about this last Diddy story, and then we're going to get into that stuff, which is that Christian Combs, Diddy's son, is taking over his Instagram. All right? Let me tell you why. All right? They are attempting to break down... sorry, let me rephrase that. So I was reading the wrong words. Let's break down the fascinating dynamic, guys. Because the Combs family is attempting... They're coming together to salvage Diddy's legacy while he's still in jail. Personally speaking, somebody's asking the name of the YouTube. It is Just in the Nick of Crime, same name on here. But if you go to the link directly in my bio, I have it linked. I have my personal website out of it right now, and it links directly to YouTube if you want to do that. What we're seeing here, though, guys, is a remarkable example of family loyalty in crisis management. Christian Combs, who does bear a striking resemblance to his father, so much so that it's almost symbolic, has essentially become the keeper of Diddy's brand. He has taken over his father's Instagram account, which is, by the way, even with him sitting in jail, one of the most valuable pieces of digital real estate, and not just, the article said hip hop culture, but I would say in general, with a very clear mission, and that is to remind the public of Diddy's positive impact while his father relates. To focus on Diddy's positive traits. Exactly, Toro. You're exactly right. There's a person, by the way, on TikTok who keeps trying to send me invites, and she's about to get blocked if she doesn't stop trying to invite me to her live over and over again. She is relentless, but she is not relentless, Aaron. Just so she knows. Here's what the strategy is, though. While their father is facing these serious federal charges, the Combs children are mounting to what amounts to be a coordinated PR campaign. They're showing up at court hearings as a unified front. They're releasing strategic statements denouncing hurtful and false rumors and carefully curating social media content to highlight their father's achievements. What's particularly interesting is how they are handling the dual narrative. On one side, you have these serious federal charges, mounting allegations that are coming from multiple sources, and on the other, you have Christian sharing classic music videos like It's All About the Benjamins, trying to redirect public attention to his father's cultural contributions. He's even gone so far as releasing a diss track against 50 Cent, who's been one of Diddy's most vocal critics. But here's what makes the situation even more complex, because while these efforts show remarkable family loyalty, they're happening against the backdrop of increasingly serious allegations. And the children are essentially, and I say they're children, but they're not, his children, are essentially trying to maintain their father's legacy while he sits on what's being described as hell on earth jail, awaiting trial that could potentially reshape everything we thought we knew about one of hip-hop's most powerful figures. All right? The irony isn't lost that while Christian is posting positive memories on Instagram, that his father is facing charges that could fundamentally alter not just his legacy, but our understanding of how power and influence operates in the entertainment industry and how it has for decades. But you know what? Again, if you're watching this later, watching it now, whatever, drop your thoughts in the comments on what your takes are on how the family is handling this. What's your take on the family doing this? Now, that being said, guys, TikTok, this is where I bid you adieu for a little while. I'll come back on after the stream. And the reason I'm leaving TikTok, and going straight to YouTube with this is because what I'm going to show is okay on YouTube, but TikTok will absolutely, based on what we saw earlier when I was streaming, TikTok will absolutely ban me for what I'm about to do. Okay? They will ban me. So you do not have to follow over to YouTube if you don't want to. You can stay here. That's fine. You can leave and you can catch me on when I'm back a little bit later. What I'm going to talk about is pretty vile. It's pretty heinous, in my opinion. And if you want to go to YouTube, you can. Link is in the bio. It'll take you right there. And it's Just in the Nick of Crime is the name. Just in the Nick of Crime. But again, link is in the bio. Will take you directly there. Now, with that said, I'm going to sign off, you guys, because I don't want to get my live banned because we have a very important, which you can register in my bio also for this, a very important live scheduled for tomorrow with the Petito family, and I cannot risk getting banned because that's too important. So that said, I will drop off now. You can follow over at YouTube, and I will be back on here in a little bit. All right, guys. So you know that it's got to be pretty bad, right, for me to do any more pictures here I want to show? Yeah, okay, yeah. You know that it's got to be pretty bad for me to sign off TikTok to share something with y'all. Because I share everything on TikTok. That's where my biggest following is, right? 1.5 million. And if you are here on YouTube for the first time, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. Please hit that subscribe button. Please follow. Now, there's a couple of statements before I show you what we're about to talk about that I want to make crystal clear. I don't mean to, but I'm trying to get him down. There we go. I want to be very, very, very forthcoming and blunt with you guys. Similar to a video I did yesterday that I talked about yesterday regarding attacks on women, violence against women. I'm not being political. People have their own opinions as to why people are doing, why they feel emboldened. But at the end of the day, it is not Donald Trump making people say the things that they say or do the things that they do. People are choosing to do those actions. They feel that way regardless of who is sitting, whether Harris had won or Trump had won, they would still feel the same way that they feel regardless of Donald Trump. The only person to blame for actions that we're going to be talking about here are the people that choose to do these actions. And I want to make that abundantly clear and crystal clear with this because I am not a political creator. And I know that when I talk about certain topics, it can become very polarizing and people can think that I'm trying to show bias one way or the other, and I'm not. But one thing that my platform has always stood on is the safety of anybody. The safety of women, the safety of children, the safety of minorities, the safety of anybody. That's important to me, and I will always use my state platform to stand up for what's right. Not for what's white, I know that came out that way, but as a white guy, I think it's important that I talk on both of these topics when we can, because unfortunately, ladies, a lot of men will only listen to other men, especially the types of men that we're talking about. And it's going to take more men to call out those men. And for persons of color, same thing. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes white people calling out other white people for their actions. All right? With that said, let's get into this. And I'm forewarning you guys, this is going to get vile. All right? On November 7th, the day after the election, two men who were not affiliated with Texas State University, keyword not affiliated, appeared on the San Marcos campus carrying signs with very offensive messaging. And you can read those here. One side read women are property and listed women, slaves, animals, cars, land as types of property. The men also displayed their discriminatory messages targeting specific groups. This incident occurred in a public area of campus. As a public institution, Texas State University was legally required to allow free speech activities even when offensive. However, the university took several immediate actions. The campus police monitored the situation to maintain order and safety. The university president, Dr. Damphouse, issued both an immediate personal response and formal statement. The university clarified that these individuals had no connection to the school, and support was offered to students, staff, and faculty who witnessed the incidents. Dr. Damphouse acknowledged the emotional impact on the campus community, saying that the incident surely caused a wide range of emotions, including fear, anxiety, and anger. He emphasized that such messages run contrary to the university's values and respect and inclusion. The university encouraged anyone feeling unsafe to contact campus police and offered direct communication channels to the president's office for those needing support. Now, That was there. That was not as bad. This is going to get progressively, I'm just warning y'all, this is going to get progressively worse. Okay? This is a graph. So ISD researchers have tracked narratives targeting women and the discussion of those narratives between November 4th and November 6th, 2024 across X, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit. The use of derogatory and misogynistic language was already rife among the well-noted manosphere and extremist communities on these platforms. And this activity has only gained steam in the past 3 days since the election. ISD observed reports of these narratives being used to harass women offline, particularly on high school and college campuses. Okay, now before I go further, I want to explain this. I have heard from people who have messaged me, from parents, that there are there are boys going around middle school, going around high school, grabbing girls, saying, "Your body, my choice," and other horrific things. I have a daughter, y'all. She's 5 years old. This is not the world that I want for her. This is not the world that I want for y'all as women that are watching this. This is not the world that I want for your daughters. And it's not the world that I want for your sons. And here's the thing. If you have middle and high school boys doing this, then it is your job as a parent, and I'm not putting it solely on the mother. I'm putting it on the father as well. It is solely your job as a parent to remedy these situations and let them know that it's unacceptable, because while they're going around grabbing girls, while they're going around telling them your body, my choice, they have moms, they have sisters, they might even have girlfriends, right? And schools are sending out information about this. It's not okay. And like I said, this is going to continue. This conversation we're about to have is going to continue to get worse. And I'm sorry for that. But y'all need to know, y'all need to be aware. Men need to be aware if you're watching this, because it takes more men to call out men like this. Because if you are a man, and I use that term loosely for men like this, but if you are one of these men that feel this way about women, you don't give two issues what women have to say. And so it takes men, unfortunately, calling out this behavior and putting them on blast. And fortunately for me, I have a platform large enough to do that. And I decided that what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give y'all a trick too, before we get into the rest of this. When people comment something, oftentimes it's troll accounts and you don't know, but sometimes it's not. And especially when you're dealing with older generations that say these types of things, they use the same username. They use the same usernames, okay? So what you can do is you can take that username and you can put in Google. And you can find other things that they use that username for, which then helps you find more information. I'm not going to say it's worked for everyone, but I'm talking about little sleuthy stuff that you can do. Okay? And then you can find their LinkedIn. You might be able to find their wife's information. You might be able to find if they have a daughter, if they have a mom still alive. You can send that information to them. Look what your son's doing. All right? That's what you can do. That's a trick that I've learned. Because oftentimes people will mess with me, and I do that. I find out a lot of information about them, and I freak them out by saying, like, oh, you live in so-and-so? This your address, right? And then they stop harassing me. Just saying. In the past 24 hours, you're looking at this graph, there has been a 4,600% increase in mentions of the following terms. 4,600% across social media, across X. Let me refresh you guys. X, TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit. 4,600% increase in mentions of these terms. Your body, my choice, and get back in the kitchen. Similarly, misogynistic language, such as the use of dumb, C-word, to target Harris. Television personalities such as Rachel Maddow and others received more than 64,000 mentions on X from more than 42,000 accounts on November 5th. Now, I don't know if you all know who Nick Fuentes is. Nick Fuentes is one of the worst human beings on this planet. I don't think that he has ever touched a woman or seen a woman naked outside of his computer screen or his phone screen. I truly believe that. Okay? I don't know if you know who he is. If you have, you might know based on what you've seen, because it's been going around, and it fills me with a rage like nothing I have ever experienced. I'm not going to show the video because it would be enraging. But he is he is very influential. He is a podcaster. He is a white nationalist podcaster and appears to be one of the early instigators with this stuff. And he's promoting the phrase, starting on November 5th. His ex-post was "Your Body, My Choice Forever," and that received 35 million views. There's a video of him cackling like a little, I can't say it because I don't want to get a strike, but cackling, talking about how he owns women. One TikTok female user reported, on TikTok, female users are reporting that accounts are commenting, which I've seen it, guys, "Your Body, My Choice," in mass on their posts. One TikTok creator said, "I had to delete a video because I was being threatened," and several men commenting saying they couldn't wait until I get ARD, or "Your Body, My Choice." Another stated, "I woke up this morning to men commenting, 'Your Body, My Choice.'" In a TikTok forum on Reddit, a user posted, "Last night I reported one of the many comments I've seen saying 'Your Body, My Choice.' The comment has been left up and the report has been marked as not a violation." How the F is that not a violation? Yeah, we can use the term witch. Angela said they'll get over it. I think I know what you're saying. Like, they're going to eventually get bored with it. But the thing is, this shouldn't be a thing to begin with. That's the issue. That's the issue. This is not okay. And this is overwhelmingly white men. The phrase "Your Body, My Choice" appears to have made its way offline as well, specifically into schools. As I said earlier, young girls and parents have used social media to share instances of offline harassment. They include the phrase being directed at them within schools or being chanted by young boys in class. On Facebook, the phrase "Your Body, My Choice" is currently trending with 52,000 posts in the last 24 hours. Oh, I think Angela's a little bit behind. I'm catching up, sorry. I think Angela's a little behind. One parent said, "Today my daughter was told 3 separate times on campus, 'Your Body, My Choice.' The third, a group of boys told her to sleep with one eye open tonight," threatening basically to R her. On Reddit, users utilized the platform to warn others of offline harassment. One user stating, women were being harassed today at UNM and told to go home where they belong to by gangs of young men. In some instances, women influencers that cater to traditional values join male counterparts, because sometimes the worst people to take the women down are other women, let's be real. Their content included videos of women upset by the election loss of Harris, referring to them as the R word for mentally slow people, the word that we were able to say in the 90s but we can't use anymore, that one. They also have parroted before I read this. They've also parroted the remarks that Trump made in the past from the leaked Hollywood Access video where they told him to grab women by their genitals. One woman influencer on X posted that Trump had just grabbed Harris by that on Election Day, and that post received 33,000 views. There's also been, by the way, it's not just that, there's also been previous calls and more calls to repeal the 19th Amendment. For those of y'all who don't know what the 19th Amendment is, it's the right that gave women the right to vote. Women's suffrage. That apparently spiked on X on October 22nd, resurfaced online, and posts were calling for the repeal of the amendment increased by 663% compared to the week prior. The top 10 X posts at the time calling for the repeal of the 19th Amendment received more than 4 million views collectively. A subset of the narratives were threatening women with S assaults, and ISD found 5 posts on X that called for R squads, or R, the largest of which had 18,000 views and came with the phrase, "Your Body, My Choice." Somebody just asked about Andrew Tate. Manosphere influencer Andrew Tate in a post on X on November 7th stated, "I saw a woman crossing the road today, but I just kept my foot down. Right of way, you no longer have rights." That post received 688,000 views in under 2 hours. Another ex-user stated, women threatening S strikes like LMAO as if you have a say. The post has received over 10 million views. Let me show you this. This comment, better tape your holes, we're R-ing and pillaging. This was on TikTok. Screenshot off TikTok. Ladies, I'm sorry you're going through this. I truly am. Again, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have a sister. This is not okay. I don't support this. In fact, I vehemently condemn it. Here's the thing, though. You don't know which ones of us are okay. You never know. By seeing us, you never know. And I have a strong sneaking suspicion that there will be a lot of men and women. I know that I've seen, that join movements appear to be, an ally in order to get close to you to cause you harm. And you're not going to know which. And I'm not telling you this to try to trauma farm or fear monger or anything like that. I'm telling you this for awareness. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know that this is something that I particularly care about, right? That I want a better world for my daughter. I want a better world for your daughters and for y'all. And it's not fair and it's not okay. And I would even argue, and we're not done, by the way, we have another equally sick thing to talk about. But I forget what I was about to say, but yeah, I would argue that you guys are stronger than us. I couldn't imagine a man going through childbirth. I always make the joke to my wife whenever, when she talks about her very, very brutal C-section, where they literally had her uterus up on the table and she was having partial placenta accreta and partial placenta abruption. And by the way, if you are a man watching this and you don't know what that means, maybe sit out the women's health discussion. That's all I'm going to say. But doctor was literally trying to dig it out. And I'm like, oh, I know what that was like because I've had a cold. Obviously, I'm joking when I say that. So, that being said, let's move on to the next part. This is what I'm about to talk about is equally horrific. And for my people of color, I'm sorry. This is disgusting, and I will tell you right off the bat that I completely condemn it. I condemn this. I don't follow this. I don't believe this. It's not what I or my platform stand for, and I promise you that you have an ally with me. So before I show you the pictures and talk about this, I need to explain something. I stand before you today to address one of the most coordinated and technologically sophisticated racist attacks on our nation. Probably one of the most ever witnessed in recent history. In the immediate aftermath of the 2024 election, thousands of Black Americans across our country have received personalized text messages threatening enslavement and invoking the horrors of plantation slavery. And here is an example of that. Greetings, Talea J. You have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation starting 11/7/2024. Please be ready at 8 a.m. sharp with your belongings. Our executive slave catchers pick you up in a brown van. Be prepared to be searched once you entered the plantation. You're in plantation group B or 7. Okay? Let me be explicitly clear what we're facing. This is not merely harassment or a series of pranks. This represents a calculated campaign of racial terrorism. That is what this is. It is terrorism using modern technology to weaponize the most traumatic chapter of American history against Black citizens. The messages, which I will quote to you guys verbatim to ensure the historical, and then I'm going to tell you why I'm going to quote them to you verbatim. I want to ensure the historical record. I want to ensure that the historical record captures their horror, threaten to abduct Black Americans and force them into slavery. They reference cotton picking, plantations, and slave catchers, deliberately evoking the brutal imagery of chattel slavery to terrorize their recipients. I am covering this so that they can't take it down. They can't delete it. They are here forever. The attack has targeted our most vulnerable communities, including children in high schools, colleges, college students away from home, and working professionals from New York to California and over 20 states. Black Americans received these personalized threats. The attackers knew their names. They knew their phone numbers. They timed their attack for maximum psychological impact immediately following the presidential election where tensions were already high. The scope is staggering. Major universities across the nation, from the University of Alabama to USC, report their black students were targeted. Professional organizations, media outlets, and community leaders received these threats. Perhaps most disturbingly, even high school students were not spared from this campaign of terror. People who are saying that white people have gotten these messages, I have not seen that. I do believe that. But let me explain to you that white people getting them is a what if. It's a whataboutism. And I know that you probably don't mean it that way. Threatening to put a white person into slavery does not have the same impact as threatening to put a black person into slavery. It is very different. It is very different. Very different. Now, federal authorities, including the FBI and the FCC, have launched investigations. Multiple state attorney generals are involved, but it isn't just about law enforcement. It's about who we are as a nation. These attacks struck at the very heart of our national promise of equality and dignity for everyone. Let me address this comment real quick. I don't know, Madness, if you came in late or you missed it, but I said very vehemently, I spent probably 3 minutes talking about it, that I blame the individuals. I don't blame. Donald Trump is not sitting there making people type these things out and send them. Donald Trump is busy building his team. He doesn't have time to send out these things, even if he wanted to, which I don't think he would. Oh, okay, sorry. I misunderstood. You're talking about somebody in the chat. Ray, we're not going to talk about the left side because if we are being honest, the people that the information that I have purposely left out of this is that it's typically, when we're talking about the women being targeted, it's people that the article quoted that it was people in MAGA gear. So we're not going to name that we're not going to start saying the left is doing this, the right is doing it. This is not about party. This is not about conservative. This is not about liberal. This is about the individuals who choose to do this. Okay? Amy, again, you can say that look, I'm 50% Jewish. If you told me you were gonna enslave my family again, it would not have the same effect on me, even though my people were slaves in Egypt. It would not have the same effect on me as it does. Now, you say you're rounding me up to put me into a camp, a work camp. That might have a different impact on me, given that I lost an entire side of my family in Auschwitz. It's very different. This is not a whataboutism. This is not about pointing a finger and saying, white people too. No. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Again, whether the people who choose to make these comments, whether they choose to support and vote for Trump, is irrelevant, in my opinion. They're the ones that are choosing to make these. If I see another person say that there are white slaves too, though, or something like that, you are being muted, because this is a whataboutism. As I've said before, I am aware of that. I am white, and I'm also 50% Jewish. I'm aware of that. My people were enslaved too. That's not what we're talking about here. And you know damn well, as good as I know, that sending a text like that to white people is not going to have the same impact that it has on our black brothers and sisters. You know that, and I know that. Stop trying to make it about us, because it's not about people with our lack of pigmentation. You know what it's about. Let's not be ignorant on that. Let's not trivialize and whataboutism what's going on here. That would be the same as me talking about all these threats of violence against women, saying, well, men get it too. Doesn't matter that men get it too. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm going to continue. Our kids are feeling this, guys. Kids. I'm not trivializing what you're saying about there being non-black black, non-person of color slaves. I'm not saying that. I'm not trivializing that. I'm not discounting that. But I'm talking about what's at hand right now. Now, that being said, the technology, so as I was saying, is that federal authorities, including the FBI and FCC, have launched investigations. Multiple state attorney generals are involved, but this isn't just about law enforcement. This is about who we are as a nation. And like I said, these attacks have struck at the very heart of our national promise of equality and dignity for all. The technology used, anonymous phone numbers, automated systems, personal data harvesting, demonstrates sophisticated planning. This was not impulsive. It was calculated. It was coordinated. It was designed to create maximum fear and trauma. And we've seen from victims all across the country, a young woman in Atlanta who genuinely felt scared, a college student at USC who no longer feels safe on campus, a New Jersey resident who sees this as proof of how far we haven't come as a nation. And their voices deserve to be heard. Their trauma must be acknowledged. Their safety must be ensured. Now, let me show you some more of these texts. Okay. Greetings, Monet Me. You've been selected. You can read them. I don't want to read them. You can read them. I'm going to keep changing them. You see all these? These are what people are getting. All right, now I'm gonna leave that one up and I'm gonna read you some more. Let me find that one real quick. Again, I'll start over. I think it was this one I was looking for. Here we go. This one was received by an Atlanta resident. Resident says, "Greetings, Monet M. You have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 12 p.m. sharp with your belongings. Our executive slaves will come pick you up in a brown van. Be prepared to be searched down. Once you enter the plantation, you are in Plantation Group S." A Detroit resident was threatened with, "Good afternoon, Renee. You have been chosen to pick cotton at your nearest plantation. Be ready at 10 a.m. with all your personal items and possessions because you will never see them again. We will pick you up in a white bus. You will be checked for drugs and other substances. Once you make it here, you will be brought to they said designed area, but they meant to say designated, so they're too dumb to spell designated. You're in Group 10B. A black journalist in Virginia received, "Greetings, Samuel. You've been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 12 p.m. sharp with your belongings. Our executive slaves will come pick you up in a brown van. Be reported to be searched down once you enter the plantation. You're in Plantation Group W." The standard format message is basically, "Greetings, you have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 1 p.m. sharp with your belongings. Our executive slaves will come pick you up in a brown van," blah, blah, blah. And a Detroit area variant is, "Greetings, you have been selected to pick cotton at the nearest plantation. Be ready at 12 a.m. November 13th sharp with your belongings. Our executive slaves will come pick you in a brown van. Be prepared to be searched down once you enter the plantation." And this documentation here is going to serve two purposes: to ensure that the attacks are recorded in their full horror and to demonstrate the sophisticated coordination of the nature of this campaign of terror. Each message was personalized. Each contained specific threats. Each was designed to maximize fear and trauma. And let me be explicitly clear. These are not anonymous calls. Somebody's saying that Amy, you're saying that this is false, that these didn't happen? Is that what you're saying? Because I need to know how I'm going to respond next if you're talking about that or something else. So please let me know. I'm going to give you the benefit at the moment. Oh, this is what this is about. Okay, you are a problem. All right. Let me guess, Amy. Holocaust didn't happen either, huh? Black people didn't become slaves. They wanted to, right? They asked to do that. They wanted a job. Let me guess, you're one of the people that say that they had it better when they were on plantations. Is that correct? Does that sound accurate? These are happening. You don't get to come in here. You don't get to say what people fear. You don't get to say that. When people are going on record saying that they are fearful, they're in fear for this, they didn't ask to be sent these messages. Women didn't ask to be harassed. And none of this mentions the election. So you want to make, if you want to say that it's about the election, when I've not mentioned that at all, I've not made that connection here. I think she's probably gone. Then that's on you, and maybe that's your projection. Because you're not sitting here saying, you're saying that it's people doing it because they're upset because they lost, not because they're receiving these messages. Stay and listen. Don't kick her. She can maybe learn something. She probably won't. White supremacists never do. Yeah, I mean, I could force you to go somewhere, but don't worry. I'll let you stay. Maybe you'll learn something. Because the threats include, like I said, their names. They reference times. They threaten specific actions. They were designed to create terror and they through detailed threats of abduction and enslavement. Somebody talking about the numbers. The numbers are fake numbers. They used a sophisticated thing. And since, Amy, you don't feel that these people feel anything, Monet Miller, who received it in Atlanta, said, with the climate and everything going on, I genuinely felt scared. Dominique Valls, a USC student, said, I definitely feel kind of unsafe on campus. Talia Jones in New Jersey said, it really shows that we didn't come as far as everybody thought we did as a nation. And here's the thing. I'm not coming to you guys and saying and blaming one side or the other, because this is not a moment for partisan division. All right? And I have made that very clear. I've made that very clear that this is not a moment for partisan division. This is a moment for national unity in the face of racist terrorism. The only appropriate response is not Amy's. It is complete condemnation. It is through investigation and comprehensive action to protect all Americans from such attacks. That's what this was about. The attacks on women, the attacks on our people of color, the attacks on any protected minority, marginalized group, I condemn. You will always have a safe space here. If you are on the right or the left, you will always have a safe space here. All right? Unless you start to become blatantly abhorrent, you will always have a space here. And as you can see, I will tolerate a lot before kicking people out. Even Amy, I won't kick out. Because I hope, and maybe I'm naive, but I hope that sometimes we can get through to people who feel this way. It is very apparent the way that Amy feels on people of color. It is very apparent. I've grown up in the South. I've grown up in the South my entire life. I know how to spot one. All right? It's in subtle comments. Subtle little things. Trivializing, marginalizing things. It's also, Retha said, this story is local news in Alabama. It's also here in Middle Tennessee. It happened here too. That's not what I said. I have family color. I'm not racist. I have one black friend. Yeah, okay. Let me tell you what, that's another thing. The first sign of a racist, Amy, is I'm not racist. I have black family. I'm not racist. I have a black friend. I work with black people. It's your actions speak louder than your words. And your words right now are showing your actions or lack thereof. Oh, good. I'm glad you have a black grandma in the house. You can hate her right under your roof. Okay, you again. None of what you're saying is. I'm just having fun with this now. She's got a black grandma on the roof and she lives in Detroit. I grew up in Atlanta. Do you think there's not racist people in Atlanta? Because Amy, if you weren't racist, you would condemn this along with everybody else here. And I'm not telling you to be racist. I'm not telling you to condemn anything. I'm not telling you to condemn anything. You're going to be who you are. You're going to do what you want. You can't force somebody to apologize if they don't mean it. You can't force somebody to not be racist if they're racist. I'm 42 years old. I spent the entire life in my South. I grew up with a family that was very racist and had to unteach myself a lot of things. I just want everybody treated with respect. Here's what I'm going to end this stream on. And I said this yesterday. And what really saddens me about this entire thing, is how far we have devolved as a nation. For those of y'all who are old enough to remember, and I know there's plenty of y'all in here, well, I mean, her white hood is kind of showing. That's a KKK reference. But what saddens me, if you're old enough to remember 9/11, the Twin Towers fell. We weren't divided as a country on 9/12. We were united. We were together. Democrats, Republicans, it didn't matter. Black, white, Latino, didn't matter. There was Islamophobia. I'm not going to be naive and say that there wasn't. There was. But the point is we came together. And we have come so far from that, and it's sad, and it's embarrassing. We are embarrassing as a country. It's great that we have the right and the privilege to be able to say what we want to say and do what we want to do. But do remember that free speech, violence is not protected speech. No, Tora, I'm very well aware of that. Anyways, guys, you see what's going on. You see what you're up against. And all I can say is stand up where you can. When you're talking about the misogynistic men, can we? Anyways. Annette, I'm not sure which comments you see. It's going pretty quick. So, and I'm wrapping up. Anyways, if you like what you heard here, feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you don't like what you heard here, feel free to hit the unsubscribe button or don't. That's where I'm at this point. This is not you. Be Republican, be MAGA, be Democrat, be leftist. I don't care. Be here. Either way. But when you become a person that treats fellow human beings as less than, then you are no longer welcome here. That's all. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. I think that more people lean more moderate than they believe anyways. I don't think that more people are far right and far left. I think that more people are central. And that's what we need to be. But if you're one of the people... Hold on a second. Annette, I'm going to pick on you a little bit, and I don't mean it because I love you. You're in here a lot, and so I don't mean anything by that. Racism is not a different view. Intolerance is not a different view. That is the core of somebody's person. That is moral turpitude, if you will. It is the ability to see a human being with a different skin color as yours as a human being. So respectfully, I will disagree with you on that. A disagreement is, I think that they should paint the White House green. And you're like, I disagree with that. That is a difference of opinion. Saying things like black people aren't worth the same as a white person, that's not a difference of opinion. And that's not something I tolerate. Or anybody for that matter. Anyways, guys, right, left, be here, be a good human, no matter which side you're on. And I think that most of y'all are, no matter which side you're on. I think most of the left is good people. I think most of the right is good people. And I think that there are really crappy people that overshadow all of us sometimes. That's all. Anyways, y'all have a great evening, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.